Right. It looks like all our panelists are here. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to hear your career stories, and if you previewed each other's bios, you may have noticed that you're all from different schools, which is very exciting for us to get all those different perspectives. And I'm sure the attendees are looking forward to getting started, so we'll keep it short. I just wanted to introduce myself first. I'm the Associate Director of International Student Career Engagement at the USC Career Center, and I'm partnering with International Student Assembly, and my co-host is Michael. And Michael, you can introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, so I'm Michael. I am the Chair of Professional Affairs at the International Student Assembly.
Yeah, so welcome. Thank you again for joining us. And I just wanted to go over some participation guidelines before we get started. So for the students who are attending this session, please use the Q&A function to ask questions to the panelists. So not the chat, there is a Q&A specific button. So it's going to be next to the chat button. And we're going to monitor the Q&A, and we'll save the Q&A for after the panelist intros. Be respectful with your questions, and also ask one question at a time to give others a chance to ask questions as well. And then I would recommend directing your question to one specific panelist whenever possible to kind of keep the conversation flowing and give everyone a chance to speak. And then also remember that this is being recorded. So no need to ask a question again if you missed the answer, because you'll have the chance to watch the recording later. Okay, so, and then I wanted to introduce briefly our panelists. So we have Bintu Agna. She is from Annenberg, and she currently works at the USC School of Architecture. So she stayed with USC, and she's a human resources coordinator. June is from Viterbi, 2014 alumni, and currently works as an economist at Vivid Economics. And Mireya got her MFA from the School of Cinematic Arts in 2020 and is now production manager at Cartoona, and also producer at I Live Here Now. Tanya is a 2019 Sol Price School of Public Policy alum, and is currently a transportation consultant at Sphere. And Yash is a 2022 graduate of the Marshall School of Business with an MBA, and he's a senior consultant at EY Consulting. So welcome to our alumni panelists, and I will pass it over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Addie. So again, I'd like to thank all the panelists for joining us today. Being an international student in America is already a pretty difficult task, and not knowing what you want to do or what careers are available to you kind of compounds the struggle. But luckily for us, our panelists today all come from diverse backgrounds and diverse industries, and are going to share their ideas, their professional experiences, and advice on navigating the US as an international student. So whenever you are ready, could you provide a brief introduction of yourself and share your opening statements and describe your career journey to your current position and its connection to your career goals as a USC student, and how your international identity has impacted your career?
And if we could go in the order that we introduced you. So Bintu, you can go first.
Okay, so hi everyone. So my name is Bintu. I'm from France. My family is from Senegal. I have been living in the US for more than 15 years, so that's been a long time. I have a bachelor in administration and economics from France. I have an HR certificate from UCLA, and I got my master in communication management from USC Annenberg. I always wanted to work in HR and mainly in diversity and inclusion. And this is what I'm currently doing right now at my position as a School of Architecture. And as an international, former student, I always wanted to work in a university setting because of my previous experience, and I'm very really comfortable, like in applying my skills in that environment and dealing with students from different horizons.
Thank you, Bintu. I think, June, you were next.
Yeah, hi, Eddie and Michael. Thank you very much for having me. And reading through other bios, I realized I graduated more than 8 years ago, so it does make me feel very old. That's one thing. But yeah, it's nice to see everyone here. My name is Junken. I did my BSc and MSc at the same time at USC, and I graduated in 2014. I'm actually based in London at the moment, so if things that I say do not make sense at any point, it's because I'm severely lacking sleep. It's about 3 a.m. here in the morning. But yeah, I think for me personally, my career journey has been quite a series of surprises. Like Michael said, for a lot of students, maybe you don't really know what you want to do, and I guess that was the case for me as well. I had no idea what I wanted to do when I finished at USC. I actually went straight back to Malaysia. And I thought I wanted to work for the government. And so I applied for a single job, which is just an internship, which I got waitlisted for actually. And I was just bumming around at home for a few weeks, didn't know what to do. I didn't apply for a single job. And then miraculously, I got off the waitlist, and the internship became a job, and it became my first job for about 3 years. And then I got tired of it. So long story short, I applied for a master's, got a scholarship in the UK, came to the UK and finished my master's after 2 years and decided to stay here. Still had no idea what I wanted to do. And so started working for my professor's company. And one thing led to another. I got tired of Oxford as a city because that's where I did my master's. And then I also worked there for 1.5 years. So I decided to move to London after lockdowns were lifted. And so moved to another company that was also co-founded by one of my professors, which was then acquired by McKinsey. And so now I'm an economist at Viva Economics, which is part of McKinsey in London. And I specialize in carbon tax and emission trading schemes, and mainly advising public sector clients around the world on setting up carbon taxes. But yeah, that's the long story, making it really short and brief and hoping to answer a lot of questions from the audience.
Great, thank you, June, and thank you for being here despite the time difference. That's dedication.
I obviously didn't think about it when I said yes, but but glad to be here.
Yes, glad you could make it. And let's see who's next. I think it would be Maria.
Hi, I'm Mireia. I'm originally from Spain. I studied my BA in audiovisual communication in Barcelona because education is free in Europe, which was a big advantage. When I was in Spain, I was working as a producer, and I was also doing a lot of communication for sports events. But I always knew that I wanted to be a producer, so I was able to get a full scholarship from a foundation in Spain that paid for my education at USC. And so I got my MFA in producing from the Peter Stark producing program at the School of Cinematic Arts, and I graduated in 2020, which was a terrible time to graduate, obviously, but we survived, which is the important thing. I always knew that I wanted to be a producer, and I always knew that if I had the chance, I wanted to stay in the US, because at the end of the day, I work in entertainment, and this is LA, so it makes all the sense in the world. When I was at Stark, the good thing that I liked about my program there was that during our second year, international students get full-time CPT starting in their second year, and they could do that for up to 11 months. Otherwise, you lose your right to OPT. And so I got a job when I was still in school. I got a job in distribution, working for E1, which is a mini major, and I was working for their distribution and sales team for Latin America and the US Hispanic market, because I speak Spanish, which was a huge advantage. And that was something that I always tried to do while I was at USC, trying to find jobs that where being an international student would actually help me instead of, being a big setback, because that happens a lot. I took the job thinking that it was just going to be something temporary. And then the pandemic happened. So I stayed there throughout my OPT year, and I was there for over 1.5 years. And then after that, I got an artist visa as a producer. And so now I started freelancing. And so after that, I started working as a production manager at Cartoona, which is an animation studio that's based in New York, but I do it remotely from LA. And at the same time, I'm in pre-production on my first live action feature, which is called I Live Here Now, that's shooting in December. So, it's pretty busy right now. I was just literally I changed rooms to join this call because I'm at the office. But yeah, no, that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you, Maria. And then Tanya should be next.
Hi, everybody. Nice to virtually meet everybody. My name is Tanya Shah. I am currently based in Vancouver, but I graduated from USC's Soul Prize School of Public Policy back in 2019 with a master's in urban planning. I was one of the lucky ones who knew kind of what I wanted to do early on in life. So I also did my bachelor's in urban planning back home in India. And moved to USC. I also had a scholarship, which made things easier for sure. My course was also under that exception that I was allowed to work on on my CPT a year into my master's program. So I was able to get it. I was able to intern at Southern California Association of Governments. And I was an intern there for a year. And as soon as I graduated, I started working for Nelson Nygaard as a transportation consultant in their Boston office. My course was not a STEM course, so I did only have H1, I have the H1B lottery try only once. I did not get it in the first round and was almost back home and miraculously got it in the first, the re-lottery that happened that year for the first time ever, and was able to rejoin my job this time in Seattle. So I continued with my same company, but then my partner who did do STEM major and had 3 turns still did not get his H1B in the last try. So we decided to move to Canada. He did get it this time, so we're thinking about going back to Seattle. So have been kind of working across and navigating the international challenges that come with being an international immigrant in the US and Canada. So happy to answer any questions. But in terms of my field, I am a transportation consultant and have been so for the past 4 years. I work with a lot of economists, transportation engineers, and of course, urban planners. So if there's anybody in the field, let me know. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Tanya, and congratulations to your partners. That's very exciting. And then last we have Yash.
Yeah, first of all, Adi and Michael, thanks for having me. So my name is Yash. I'm based in Los Angeles. And prior to USC, I was working in the marketing team at Google. And I was working at that company for 8 years. So I was based in the Bay Area. And I was bored of my job in the industry. I mean, selling ads and digital marketing for a while. So I decided I want to make a career pivot into consulting. And I came to USC for my MBA, and that was the goal I had. And luckily, things worked out. So I joined EY Consulting, and I was looking for variety in my work, and I got that. So I'm really happy, and it's been going really well. In terms of being international, I don't think it's a disadvantage. I think it's a advantage because it can differentiate you from a lot of people, right? So for example, I'll give you an example. There's so many hiring managers that I spoke with who were thinking about, expanding their business globally, right? Most of the companies, if you look at right now, the Fortune 500, they're global companies. And a lot of companies are looking at how can they expand their, business in international markets. So if you are an international student, it gives you an advantage because then you understand not only the US market, but you also understand other markets. And that's where I think instead of thinking of being an international student as a challenge, it is an opportunity. And I have a lot of friends as well who have got very great jobs. in the US. So I'm happy to answer any questions. And yeah, I mean, glad to be here.
Thank you, Yash. And I agree 100% with what you said. Thank you for sharing that positive note. Being international is a benefit, and I'm glad that you got to experience that with your employer too. All right. So now we can open the floor to Q&A. So Michael's going to lead that, so I will mute myself.
Yeah, so there were already some questions that were asked. So I guess you guys kind of touched upon this already, but how did you, this is kind of directed to all of you, but how did you all ultimately choose your career and the industry that you're currently working in?
I don't know if I should start. So
Yeah, you can start whenever.
yeah, for me, I mean, I always wanted to work with people and interact with them. That was really important. That's why I wanted to be in HR. Ultimately, I really want to be into diversity and inclusion because I'm very like working in the field of like everything related like to social change and everything that have been happening, I think, during the 2020 with all the protest and like so many things happening with the George Floyd issue. That was really dear to my heart, and that's why I really want to be in that field. Also because I am an international, and I think that it's really important for every single person to be able to have their place in the workplace and to be represented. So
Yeah, I think we can go in the same order again, maybe. Yeah, for me, I think it was quite straightforward when I graduated from USC, because like I obviously had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew initially that I wanted to go back to Malaysia, and really the only career I would pursue in Malaysia was in the public service. So, which is why I applied for the internship in the government and was lucky enough to stay there for a number of years. But having been in the public service, I really wanted to diversify my experiences, which is why I went into the private sector at this time. And I guess that when we talked about being international students, I think I know many people here currently work in North America. I think the beauty about being international is that when you think about jobs, at least when I think about jobs, it's not just limited to a single country, right? Like when I think about jobs, I'm actually thinking about the job market across the world as a whole, whether it's in the US, in Europe, or even in my home country, which is in Asia. When I apply for jobs, I'm actually thinking all around the world, and obviously there are visa restrictions, for example, in the US, but there are some other countries with more or less visa restrictions or are handing out work visas more easily, and those are the markets that you can consider as well.
I always knew that I wanted to work in entertainment since I was a kid. I really loved movies so much that I decided to make it my career. I know that not everybody does that. I thought of just doing it as a hobby because growing up in Spain, that wasn't necessarily a very realistic option. But I did study that in undergrad. And then when the option came to move here, I obviously took it. And I always knew that I wanted to be a producer. So when I graduated, I graduated at a terrible time. So even if I had wanted to do something else, I wouldn't have been able to because COVID, there were absolutely no jobs. So I was happy to have one. And then once, because I knew that I wanted to be a producer, I worked towards getting the visa to stay in the US that worked with the type of career that I wanted. And so that's it.
Similar to Maria, I always wanted to be a planner and was lucky enough to have a university to support my bachelor's back home. So wanted to continue my journey in the US where there was a lot more innovation happening, a lot more opportunities happening, and to get a better exposure. After graduation, it just made sense to stay here since I already had that contextual background, which is very important in a planning job, and lucky enough to get a job right away. I kind of just went head deep into it and haven't stopped since. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in my case, I already knew that I wanted to go into consulting. I was working in the industry in the same company for a long time. I was bored of it, and I wanted variety in my work. So I was very focused when I went to USC Marshall that I wanted to go back into consulting. So yeah, I had specific goals when I started doing my MBA.
Awesome. All right. I think the next question is for Yash. So the person is asking why employers would want to hire international students since they would have to take the extra step to deal with work visas. And what is advantageous? Like what are the advantages that international students have compared to native speakers and like people who are native to the US?
Sure. So I mean, I understand there are challenges like the visa process and the H-1B lottery and all of that. But if you think about employers, right, they are going to hire talent whatever is best for their business. So for example, like one of the hiring managers that I gave the example of, they were thinking about expanding in Asia, right? It was a streaming company and they were thinking of expansion in the Asian market. And they were looking at me because they felt that I could work in the US and I could also, I mean, help them and expand their business in Asia, which is a growing market for the streaming industry, as all of us know. So there are those kind of opportunities, and they're unique kind of those kind of skill sets and knowledge, market knowledge that you bring as in being an international. However, I would clarify that it doesn't mean that an international student doesn't have to put in the same effort when you are looking for jobs. So what I've experienced in the US is that people really value, the hustle. So for example, a lot of employers, they really like students who are willing to put in the hard work, who are willing to network, right, with employees in the company, who are curious to learn more about the company, the industry, the business, you have to demonstrate why you are a good fit in that company or how you can add value in that organization. So there is a lot of effort required as well at the same time. So it's not that, if you're an international, you can walk into any company. If you're willing to do the hard work and willing to network, there are a lot of opportunities out there.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. This next question comes from a student from Mexico studying PR and advertising. So this question is for Mariah. And this student asks, how did you find Spanish-speaking opportunities in the entertainment industry?
So by looking at the regular job boards, both the UTA job list, which my program continues to send to the students every week, and then just on like regular job portals like LinkedIn, you can really put anything in the job search option. So I had multiple ones, both for like movies, entertainment, producer, but I also had one specifically for like Spanish that with the keyword Spanish and entertainment. And I think that's how I found the job. Actually, no, I found the job because I applied to another job in the same portal because it's a studio, so they had a lot of vacancies, and I just applied to it because I thought that I would be a good fit. But you can find Spanish-speaking opportunities just by searching for Spanish as a keyword.
Awesome. Thank you. So this next question is for all of the panelists, and it's a pretty general question. It's what were the main logistical and emotional difficulties you all faced as international students?
For me personally, there was a big culture shock coming to the United States. Even though I was coming from France, I thought like the culture was similar, but it was so different from the beginning. I was definitely homesick. I think like not speaking the language when I came here was really difficult. I was not speaking one word of English. So it really took me a long time, honestly, to get adjusted. I felt like because I met like a lot of French people, I was able to connect with them, which was wonderful. However, I felt like sometimes when you're with just French people, you just speak in French and you don't really learn the language. So that can be a difficulty. And I had to force myself to try to meet American students. And because of the culture shock at the beginning, honestly, I couldn't have any American friends. All of my friends were foreigners, and it really took me a lot of effort. I had to go to so many events at my school, and just start having conversation when I was in the dorms, when I was having lunch every day, try to connect with different people that were different from the group I knew. And I think that was definitely a challenge, but that was also worthy because I was able to meet new people. I was able to practice my English, but most importantly, to meet people that I will have never met in France. Yeah, and that's something I will definitely recommend. And that's really hard, but not just to stay with the people that speak the same language and that we feel comfortable with and like really like explore.
Yeah, I think I had the reverse experience. I mean, that culture shock was real for sure, like in the United States. But in terms of language, I think I had sort of a reverse experience. Malaysia is in the Commonwealth, the British Commonwealth, so we actually learned English growing up. But I think the funny thing is when I got to the US, nobody really understood the English that I was speaking. It's like, and then the second question is like, everyone's like, you grew up in Malaysia, how did you learn how to speak English? I guess people forgot that the British Empire actually spanned half the world. And then the third thing was actually like, for maybe 90% of the people that I met, it's like when I said I'm from Malaysia, and that's basically the end of the conversation because they had no idea where Malaysia was. They couldn't point it out in the map. And then it was really difficult. I think quite similar to Bintu. I was trying very hard to assimilate and to make sure that I really get the full experience of being an international student. But obviously that came with a lot of emotional difficulties when, especially I think as an undergraduate in my first year, I realized a lot of students actually came from many different high schools in the US. And they basically, these were the high school friends. Like, how do you break into a social circle that's made out of, friends that have already been made like years ago? And I think that was a huge challenge that I joined a lot of, student organizations. And in fact, there were so many that I barely had enough sleep when I was an undergraduate. So I definitely would suggest, managing your time a lot better than myself. But those were the challenges. But in terms of logistical difficulties, I think it's just not being able to fly home or to go home as often, because I think LA is about 14, 15 hours minimum back to Asia. So I basically just stayed there for 3 to 4 years throughout my undergraduate and not being able to be home. And I guess the plus side of that is that I don't even have homesickness anymore. I now live in London, and I, throughout the lockdowns when I couldn't fly, I was like, yeah, I've done that before, even before the lockdown. So I'm all good. But yeah, that's my long story short.
I think one of the main difficulties that I had when I moved here, other than like the culture shock, was also the having to learn absolutely everything from scratch that Americans know, like how to get a social security number and credit score and renting, which are things that people will have parents that will teach them. And in this case, you're kind of like on your own, and OIS helps a little bit, but it's mostly just you trying to figure things out. And it ends up working out, but it takes a minute, and it also like very anxiety inducing because you want to make sure that you're doing things right and you're not getting in trouble. I think also emotionally, obviously, like homesickness and like being far away from home is always a big deal. And for me, it was especially big deal at the beginning of COVID, because I was 2 months away from graduating and I was working on my thesis and I was working. And then there was the European travel ban, which was really heartbreaking because, it's this world of uncertainty. And there was a big lockdown in Spain where people were not allowed to leave their homes. And so everybody in my family was together and I was here, and it just made me feel like extremely lonely. And it was the only time that I thought of actually going home, but I was doing my OPT and I thought that it would be a waste to just throw it all away and throw away part of my career because of this. And, we survived, and, we came the other way much stronger. So that was good. And I think that those are like the main difficulties in general.
I just want to say that as an international student, we definitely are a lot more resilient and can come back from a lot better challenges than a lot of other people would have to go through. Like not everybody can leave their country and fly halfway across the world. and settle there forever. It's difficult and it comes with its challenges, and you have to be cognizant of that fact while pursuing that you made this decision coming here. And for me, it was just I had a circle of close people who look and speak like me that kept me anchored, that kind of became like a mini home for me, but that also kind of supported and motivated me to network better and kind of go and prosper in stuff that I actually came here to do. So just having a really close-knit circle and keeping that trust and support from your friends and anybody that you can call, and just having that really helps kind of partly take away that homesickness that of course everybody kind of goes through when you move here. So yeah, but just being aware of that fact that we made this choice. It's something that we're doing actively for our own sake, and that just thinking about it in that way kind of helped me go out there and make the most of this time and this opportunity that I had.
Right. So, I mean, my situation was very different. So, first of all, to give you some background, so I grew up in New Delhi, and during my junior years, I actually spent a few years in London. So, I have actually lived in Asia, Europe, and Americas. And I moved to the US not because of USC, but through my job, my previous job. I was working in Google New Delhi, and I moved to the Bay Area, the headquarters, a few years back. So I used to travel frequently for work to the US when I was working at Google. So when I was working at Google India, so I was kind of used to a lot of things because of my work travel. I already had a lot of friends in the US, and I moved through my organization, which included all the support that was required. So, I mean, from that point of view, logistically, there was not much of a challenge. However, I would agree to the fact that I mean, I know I live like 60, like my parents live 16, 17 hours away. So it's not easy for me to fly back home, especially because there's jet lag and there's like complete reversal of day and night, right? From a time zone point of view. So I think that's a big logistical challenge. I don't travel as frequently as I would like to. But other than that, I think there are so many other positives, right? So you would get to meet people from different countries, different cultures. And one thing that I've learned after living in 3 different continents is that, people have a lot more things in common than the differences. So I've really enjoyed living in San Francisco and now LA. And I've made a lot of friends. So it's been good so far.
Thank you all for your answers. So the next question is for Tanya. This student also wants to go into planning or transportation or work in the infrastructure planning space in developing countries. And the question is, could you talk a bit about the difference between working in transport and planning abroad versus working on it in the USA?
Sure. I haven't done a lot of infrastructure planning per se, but I do have friends and colleagues who work there. Steer is actually headquartered in the UK and has offices in Italy and South America and a lot of other places in North America and even India as well. So I do know from their experiences that it is definitely a different market working there. The biggest difference that I've seen is just the work number of hours that you work normally. It's definitely a lot tougher out there outside of the northern market where there's a lot of work culture and legalities that are kind of controlled environment versus that's not the case there. It's a lot of field work that's involved, which is a little bit less here. It's definitely a more comfortable and privileged job in the US versus it is in other countries, especially underdeveloped or developing countries, I would say. Back home in India, I definitely think that working in infrastructure planning, it's dealing with a lot of government agencies, dealing with a lot of hard laborious work, especially if you are starting out. So that's something that just comes from personal experience, but I do know that that's super valued when you become back as into the field of more senior planners, that if you have that ground level experience, you are definitely kind of adding that value to your resume or portfolio, and that definitely like boosts you up going forth. So just kind of, I would recommend being mentally prepared for all of those challenges. And would also definitely require a lot of regional language learning, because a lot of that planning happens in the regional languages.
Thank you. This next question is for Yash. This student is a transfer student who also wants to go into the consulting field, but has no prior internship or professional experiences in this field. And they're asking if it's possible for people with zero experience like them to land an internship and what they should do to land one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so it doesn't matter if you don't have experience, because I mean, you have to start somewhere, right? And in fact, I know a lot of Marshall undergraduate students who have got jobs in the top consulting firms in the world. So you should definitely apply. I think Marshall has all those resources as well on the formal channels in which you can apply for an internship or a full-time job. And consulting is a growing field. I mean, in my entire career, I worked in tech, and tech was always growing at like over 20%. And right now, consulting has been growing strongly, and it's the fastest growing industry right now. So it's the industry is growing. They do hire people, students from Marshall, undergraduate students. So you should definitely apply. And yeah, I mean, there are opportunities out there. So I would just encourage you to find out, network within the company that you are targeting, and then apply through the Marshall channel, because Marshall Career Services would provide you all the resources for that.
Thank you. The next question is for Jung. This student is thinking of applying to the UK and was wondering what the visa process was like over there.
Yeah, I should have brought it up earlier. This is actually applying for jobs in the UK. It's very straightforward, as in the visa as well. So there are no longer any visa restrictions in the UK, especially after Brexit. So as long as you get a job here in the UK, you get a visa. And most companies in the UK will pay for your visa applications. So it's entirely free. It's covered for by the company. If there's a company who asks you to pay for visa, it's probably not a good company to join, because most companies here do pay for your own visa application fees and everything. So all you have to do is to wait for 6 weeks for the visa to get processed and approved. But even that, as a capitalist society, you can pay for the visa to be expedited. So if you're doing it abroad, you can pay for your UK work visa to be expedited, to be issued in 5 days, so within a week. So it's very straightforward, no visa restrictions, no numbers, no quotas. If you get a job, you get a visa. Yeah, it's very straightforward. And I know personally a lot of my friends who didn't get their H-1Bs in the United States, if they are working in a multinational company, they usually ask for an intra-company transfer to transfer from the US offices to the London offices. The same is true for McKinsey. So yeah, anywhere works. And it's very straightforward. If there are any questions about visa, feel free to come to me. I'm on my 4th visa in the UK.
All right, thank you, Jung. This next question is again for all the panelists. So the question is, what strategies, and could you guys recommend a strategy or resources that has helped you along the way, whether it be finding an internship, finding a job, or kind of helping you decide what you want to do in your career?
I mean, for me, that will definitely be like to network. I feel like USC, that's why a lot of people also come to school here. The treasure network is really, this is real. And like at the school where I attended at Annenberg, they had events all the time. So I try to attend as many events as possible. I try to network with my classmates. I try to network with my professor and keep in touch with them, because a lot of times the opportunities, they're going to know someone, or one of your classmates is going to know someone. I feel like not all the time, but I will say maybe 75% of the time, it's a lot with a relationship. And I think, yeah, definitely trying to go to as many events as possible. That was definitely helpful for me.
Yeah, I think I would say the same, which is, your networks, your personal networks, maybe three things: personal networks, careers, university career services, and the third one is just Google, like, plain old Google. I think on my second job, for example, when I finished my master's in the UK, I literally just went to Google and typed in what I wanted to do and what I thought I wanted to do and the location that I wanted to do it in, and just literally went through the list, down the list one by one. And then I coincidentally stumbled upon a company that was co-founded by my professor, and I put in an application and I got it. And yeah, and personal networks as well. So as I was moving from Oxford to London, by talking to my colleagues and my friends when I was doing my master's, I also just found out that my professor also has another company in London. So I just moved to the one in London, and it's very straightforward for me. And so I saw that there's a question about L1 visa in the chat. So maybe just quickly on that, is like, if you also start your job in the UK, like Yash said, you can also transfer back to the US on the L1. So that's good stuff.
Yeah, in terms of resources that helped me, yeah, absolutely. Networking, both at school, the Peter Stark program and SCA in general have great networks, as does USC at large. Also networking a lot through internships. I interned every semester of my master, except for the last semester where I was already working full-time, doing full-time CPT. That did help me a lot, both for in terms of networking, both for full-time jobs and then for freelance opportunities that led to better opportunities in the long run, working in the entertainment industry where you're just jumping from project to project all the time.
For planning, it's actually there's a lot of companies out there looking for planners for international students. That brings a really interesting perspective to the table. So for internships, it's quite easy for planners to get an internship in the US. But in terms of actually getting a job, of course, you can work for the government, which is one of your biggest employers for urban planners. So that's kind of out of the question. So you do want to maybe work for an agency that does sponsor H-1Bs. There's not a lot of multinational planning agencies in the US, but there's a few. And they do support, in most cases, they can transfer you out of the country to another of their offices if you don't get your H-1B and stuff. So do be on the lookout for those kinds of companies. And I have a list if anybody's perfectly interested. Just because there's not that many, it's quite easy to narrow them down for our field. For L1, though, the previous conversation, I would say that you need to stay out of the country for about a year, work for the company, and only then are you legally allowed to come back into the US on an L1 visa, and you are bound to that company until until you get an H-1B, because for an L1 to transfer, you have to go back outside of the country. So it is a tricky visa. So if you are thinking about it in that line, please talk to somebody who knows this process better and use any of the resources that the university has as well. But yeah, talking to peers and talking to your professors never hurt. They have a lot of connections out in the field, so should definitely do that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all the panelists that networking is really important. I mean, most of your professors at USC also have very good networks. You can tap into those networks. There are so many events. USC has a lot of resources. USC is a really great network. So make use of all of that. And I mean, I worked on 2 internships during my MBA. So I would also encourage, like, if you are able to get internship opportunities, go for them. It's going to be hard if you're a full-time student, but internships like always help because you expand your professional network, you demonstrate some experience, and you can leverage that even when you're going for a full-time recruitment. So it's, I mean, there are a lot of resources out there which at USC which you can make use of, and I relied on networking a lot. I attended a lot of events, network through LinkedIn as well, and yeah, leverage all the Marshall resources.
Thank you all for your answers. So the next question is again for all the panelists. And the question goes, did you do summer internships? And if you did, how was the recruitment process for those as international students? And how did you stand out during the recruitment process?
So for me, I've done some summer internship. It was more like volunteering, I will say, and I definitely applied to many companies. It was not paid, so I had several interviews, and I mean, I sent my application first, and then I had even like 2 rounds of interviews, even though these were only internships. So, but I didn't give up. I feel like for me, it was more like a number games. At some point, definitely I was discouraged because I was not selected, but I keep going, and I keep, like, as I said again, like, try to reach out to people I knew, from my classmates to my professor to people in a career center, to try to get a connection and be able, like, to have like my foot in the door.
Yeah, I can't really help too much here because I actually never did my first ever internship was after I graduated from USC, and that was an active decision because maybe this is not the best career advice, but I was thinking when I was an undergraduate was that I'm gonna work for the rest of my life. So I'm not going to actively look for a job while I'm still a student. So I basically spent all my summers volunteering, just doing things that I really enjoyed. So I can't give you an advice on how to get a summer internship, but I can give you an advice not to get a summer internship. Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, I did internships throughout my program. I did 1 unpaid internship, I did 2 part-time paid internships and 1 full-time paid internship, and then a job. And in my case, most of the internships that I got, it was either opportunities that were passed by my program, you know, they just sent us an email and encouraged us to apply and let them know that we applied. Some of them I actually found online on like LinkedIn. And then specifically for the summer internship, my program had this summer internship program where, in addition to you being able to like apply to anything that you wanted, they would also try to place you and pitch you for specific internships. And so that's how I ended up getting my summer internship.
My program had a mandatory internship requirement. So of course I had to do an internship. I did 2 of them. Both of them were paid. The longer one, which was which lasted a year long, that was through a competitive hiring process for an internships. Thankfully, they were hiring multiple people. And they didn't really care about visas since they don't really sponsor for internships. And that's something that's an easy in for kind of an equal starting ground for both internationals and Native Americans. I would definitely say that if you have an opportunity, do an internship, just because for when you're looking for a full-time opportunity, if you have an internship in the US, that does count towards some experience that you have, work experience that you have in the US. So definitely helpful, especially in a consulting world where experience does help a little bit. At internships definitely set some base.
So first of all, I agree with the question that, I mean, recruitment is a very competitive process for everyone. I mean, internationals, Americans, it's hard. I mean, I've seen a lot of my colleagues at Marshall School of Business, and it has happened with me as well. Like I've also faced a lot of rejections. I sent a lot of resumes, never got a response. It happens with everyone. So resilience is very important. you should be able to, you have to constantly try for it, do your internships. I was lucky enough to get do work in 2 internships, take my MBA, but it does require a lot of effort from a networking and application point of view. And I can trust me on this because I can say that for a lot of Marshall MBA students and a lot of my colleagues, all of us have faced rejections, whether it's you're an international or an American. So it is a very competitive process. It is a hard process, but it's also about the resilience, and networking is definitely going to help you. So it's just don't give up. If you really want something, you should just go after it.
Thank you for all your answers. The next question is for Bintu. This student is an international graduate student in the Communication Management program from Annenberg, and they're asking if there are any international student-friendly companies that they could start at or look more into.
For me, to be honest, it was different because, I am in a university setting where I'm working, but I remember getting so many emails from the Annenberg Career Center about companies such as in entertainment, Netflix, Apple, Amazon, and all those companies are, definitely international. And I know that they do sponsors students. I remember one of my classmates also it was in I'm trying to think, it was in the tech companies, because a lot of tech company are sponsoring international students from my recollection. But I will say at Annenberg, the Career Center, it's really good. They always send email. I get at least 2 or 3 times a week email from them. I will also say to make an appointment with them. The dean, her name is Susan Alcantara. She's in charge of all the students. She's really resourceful, but also all the advisor at Annenberg. And as I mentioned also earlier, keep going to so many events and keep asking, reach out to your professor. That's something that is, like I said, because they have so many connections and they're able, they know people that work in these international companies. So I hope that helps.
Thank you, Bintu. This next question is again for all the panelists, and they're asking if having a master's is more helpful for international students in regards to getting a job.
You said about having a master, right?
Yeah, having a master's.
I think, in my opinion, I feel nowadays, having a master, I feel it's almost the basic level of education. That's just my opinion. I feel maybe 10 years before or 20 years before, back in the day, some people, they could just get a job with a high school diploma. And then I felt the level went up to, you need at least a bachelor degree, and now it's a master degree. So also, for me, I think that's important because there is so much competition in the workplace. But one of the reasons, to be able to get an H-1B, I feel it's really, I think the minimum is a bachelor degree, if I'm correct, or at least having a master, because you have to be specialized in a field for them to sponsor you. So I will highly recommend the master to everyone in order to be able, in terms of immigration paperwork. I think that's something that is definitely useful. But also in terms of your career, when you specialize, you're definitely more competitive because you definitely have a skill set, and that can give you an advantage compared to someone else that is not specialized in this area.
Yeah, I would echo what Bintu said. It's masters obviously is very useful in the job market, but I think maybe you do not want to rush into doing a master's. I want to put this to you maybe in 2 perspectives. One is with regard to your career. Master's is very useful in terms of a career change. Let's say, you've graduated, like myself, I graduated with a degree in engineering. I now work as an economist. I spent 3 years, in between, and I decided I wanted a career change. And master's is a great turning point for a career change. And the other perspective I want you to look at it is I guess if you're working in the US, masters can help extend your stay in the US. And so definitely do not rush into it. Use up all your OPT time and then go do your masters, and then you get another round of OPT. So I know a lot of my friends who have done that, and they basically, spend 3 years, 4 years undergraduate, 3 years of, 2.5 years of OPT, and then back in the masters, and then 2.5 years of OPT. By the time you finish all of that, it's about 10 years. It's about time for you to get a green card. So it's perfect. So yeah, I want you to think about this like from these two perspectives, and definitely do not rush into it.
I think, yeah, getting a master's, I think that definitely is always a plus to get a job. I don't necessarily need a master's for what I'm doing right now, and I didn't really need it for my current visa, because with an O1B, you don't necessarily need to prove that you have higher education. You just need to prove that you are exceptional at what you do. But it definitely was a huge advantage when I got my first job in the US, my first full-time job when I was still a student. Part of what I was hired was because, my bosses were very impressed that I was getting a master's from USC, which it means whatever you want it to mean, but it was definitely a deciding factor for them, instead of like me just coming in with I would absolutely not have been able to get a job coming in with a BA from Spain, not because the BA wasn't good, but because, companies don't know, foreign universities.
I would echo with what Jung said. Definitely a really strategic way to approach masters. In terms of consultant, I don't think masters is a must, as long as you have interests and skills that you can showcase that is relevant to the job. It's not necessary to get a master's to get the job. It's definitely a plus, a bonus, and is considered highly over candidates who just have bachelors, but we recently had a really big recruitment drive from our grad program, and I believe 60% of the grads were undergraduate direct hires and didn't have masters. So it's not necessarily a requirement, out of which two were international students. So it's not just for people who have citizenship. So yeah, it definitely varies from person to person, but yeah, I would do what Jung would do. I like that idea.
I really think it depends, and I know we're running out of time, but it depends on what your career goals are. So for example, like I know that if you want to do an MBA from any top business school, that you require a few years of work experience, right? So after your undergrad. So it depends on what course you want to pursue in your master's, what you want to do in your career. And it's a personal choice. I mean, there are a lot of successful people who have just undergrads in this world, and who never got a master's degree. And again, there are a lot of people who got their master's degree and maybe also got their PhDs, and they're also very successful in their careers in the field. So it is a personal choice, and it depends on what you want to do in your career.
All right, thank you guys so much. I think that is going to be all the time we have, so I'm going to pass it off to Addie to close off the panel.
Thanks, Michael. And thank you to all the panelists for being so generous with your time and even, meeting with us in the middle of the night. We really appreciate you, and your answers have been so insightful. Unfortunately, I know there's still some more questions, but I think, if your panelists are willing, maybe we can send you some questions, and we can also send, some follow-up resources to the attendees of the session, and it's also being recorded. But also, if you'd like further advising, you can always stop by the Career Center. I'm part of the Central Career Center. You can make an appointment through Connect SC, or you can make an appointment with any of your school career centers. So we're always here to help you. So don't be afraid to use those resources. And yeah, June, I can imagine you should sleep in, sleep in if you can, and if not, maybe close your door. And so I just wanted to let you know, for the attendees for today, that we do have a survey at the end of this session. So when you close the window and the survey is going to pop up, it'll be really quick, maybe just 2 minutes at the most. So if you can take a minute to fill out the survey, we'd appreciate it. Thank you all again so much for attending. It's been a real pleasure, and have wonderful rest of your days and nights, whatever the time is there for you.
Thank you. Thanks, Addie and Michael. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.